Hi, it's Humanimal. I'm just going to sort of riff a little bit about Suzanne Morphew's missing person case. So, missing in Colorado. Suzanne Morphew, born in my month and year. So, she's 49, mother of two beautiful daughters, and she went missing on Mother's Day. And let's talk about it. So, yeah, so I was just listened again to the Profiling Evil live stream because I missed the first half, so I made sure I went back and listened. And I've been saying that I believe like it's either Gone Girl, because Suzanne has wanted to go and get out of a bad situation. 50 years old is often when women are reevaluating their life and their choices and the rest of their life. And yeah, that was an option. And I thought, well, it's either that or it's someone very close to her. And after listening to Profiling Evil, I don't believe it's Gone Girl. I mean, I don't want to say just because of her friend, but I thought perhaps friends are being quiet because they know that she's Gone Girl and they've obviously, she needs someone to help her. And maybe that's why the daughters are quiet as well. But I think now that I don't think that's the case. Now let's just talk about construction. Let's see if I can do this clearly without muddling things up or confusing you with what I'm trying to say. Because I'm really just thinking aloud. How would I be looking at Barry and the situation around the works that he was doing at the time? When you're working in landscaping and construction, you have to prepare sites, and initially you need things like you might need to you might do demolition works, you might need to remove old structures, and you will need certain equipment for that, like bulldozers, etc. And you will need to take fill and debris away. Sometimes you might need permits to do so. You might need permits depending on the building. Is it asbestos? Is it an asbestos building? Is it from the 50s? There's, what sort of technique are you going to use to demo? Are you just going to bulldoze something? Do you need to use dynamite? So, you've got labor hire, equipment, and permits. If you are then moving forward, what if you're in the initial stages of build? Well, you're preparing foundations, so you're creating the surface, you're excavating. You could be excavating, you could be core drilling down, so you're making provision for heating, etc., making provision for plumbing. Maybe you're putting in underground water tanks and things like this. So this is all things that you do need specialists for. You need equipment hire, you need specialist materials, you need specialist tradespeople, equipment, etc., etc., etc. I guess if you're in the sort of the landscaping business, construction, you're probably sort of in this prep stage where you might be someone that sort of prepares land and builds retaining walls, and this has got to be done in a very specific way, often using an engineer or engineering capabilities or know-how, the right materials, and again, equipment, correct labor. You could be, laying foundations. This is obviously including things like concrete, and depending on the complex nature of the building, there are things that go into the substrate. Sometimes it's not always just a flat concrete pad. So, I mean, it depends on the sites, etc. And then after that, what are you doing? Then there's a build, and then you might go back in and do some landscaping. But I guess at the start, the landscaper could be doing retaining walls and foundation prep and things like that. But there's usually other demolition people, you know, civil contractors who will go in with their labour force and their specific equipment. So, you know, there's a lot of planning that goes into these works at every site. So, you know, you need, it's not always skilled labour, but sometimes you do need labour hire, but you might also need people with rigging tickets, people who can drive cranes, people who have the right truck license, etc. And then people with just experience with bulldozer and things. And usually you've got people that have ticketing experience. They may or may not have in-depth qualifications, but there's usually tickets involved and things. And you've got to hire these people. So they're either people that you use through labour hire, they could be people that you have on retainer or that you just know through the business. But the more specialised they are, the more in advance you're going to have to plan and book. You don't just organise these people, these specialised machines on a Sunday, for example, to be on a site that Monday morning. If you are about to do some works, it is possible that you might go there, say on a Sunday, just to prepare the site so that an unskilled labour force could come in, or perhaps so that professionals can come in and you are spending less of their expensive time. So we need to know why Barry was in Denver, saying that he was in Denver for work, because if he's there to be there on a Sunday saying he needs to be there, it's not like he's visiting companies to organise product probably on a Sunday to a high degree. Possibly, maybe if it's very simple things, sand, cement bags and things like that, maybe, you know, timber and things. But often these things are pre-booked as well. You make sure that the lumber yards and the various yards are going to have your product. And you need to be able to transport it there, you need to be able to unload it, etc. So what could Barry be doing in Denver on the Sunday? I was going to Google and just see what businesses are open as far as, you know, able hire, you know, crane hire, lorry hire. Is there places like that? Are there the trade supply places that have, you know, from quarries that supply foundation work or rocks? Did he just want to hire a bulldozer? What was he doing that he had to be there? I'd say maybe it's just something like on a Sunday you would go and you would measure out your site. You might put the plumb lines where people are going to dig. You might spray out where you need the bulldozer to come in and park, where they need to dig out. That sort of thing. That sort of basic prep. And it seems like maybe if he was legitimately there for this sort of role in Denver, it was just some basic prep that he was able to just, you know, dismiss quite easily as well, because he didn't return to that job early in the week after Suzanne, his wife, was missing, because he's turned to a job in Salida. So I guess it is possible that the job in Salida was what he was down in Denver organising, but it doesn't sound like it. I mean, these are things that maybe then he could have done over the phone. It did sound like he needed to be somewhere to prep for something, and it's something that he was physically doing in person, because otherwise why would you go? You can do things on the phone. So, but he's managed to ditch that. So number one, I guess if I were law enforcement there, I would have already checked what was his job, when was it booked, who had he arranged to be there as labour hire that he was prepping the site for, was equipment booked and did he cancel it? Did he redirect that equipment from a role, from a job site in Denver up to this one in Salida that law enforcement dug up? So they dug up the concrete of this site. It's just out of town, out of Salida. The site in Salida, if he's there ready for work. So, okay, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Was he down in Denver arranging equipment to come up, you know, up the mountain to be on site at this job? I mean, this is all easily verified, what was booked in, what works were booked in with Barry. You know, but you want to know the equipment that was used. Is this just equipment that Barry owns, that he was able to take to that site if that was him making that noise overnight? The equipment that he used laying the foundation or delivering the dirt, was that his, or did he book it? Does he own it? Was it already in Maysville or Salida? Is it something that came up from Denver? Was it already just sitting on site? Because works had already started and there's bulldozers, there's machinery there already. It wasn't brought to and from site. The lady recognized the noises, I think, as the neighbour of this property recognized the noises, I think she said. So, you know, the equipment could have already been there. Was the cement already there? This makes me wonder, well, was cement and everything already on site? Or, you know, maybe it was ordered on Monday, delivered on Tuesday, laid on Tuesday. Is that the day that law enforcement dug it up, or was it the Wednesday? Because I feel like it's important to know what, you know, I think we're a little bit hazy about what Barry was doing when at the Salida site. Was he actually doing works on Monday? How did it, you know, where did these materials and things come from? Were they already there so that he could do whatever he wanted when he wanted? Did he make a few calls on Monday and order some materials? You know, and did he have anyone hired and helping him there doing this foundation work, laying this concrete? You generally have the truck mixer, someone pumping, someone laying it off. It's a very difficult, tedious job with one person. I can't imagine a large floor footprint like the one that was out on that site was done just by Barry. So where did he get these mates? Were these mates? And where is this labour force coming from? They were already just part of the team that's on the site. Did Barry shuffle around works that was booked? You know, these are all the questions. They're very easily answered by talking to these site owners, the workers, the suppliers, you know, the building associations and things where the permits come from. So, you know, I'm sure this is what the FBI are all knowing. Yeah, because he certainly seems to have changed things around in a hurry, I guess. Is it a red herring is what I want to know. Is the building site in Salida a red herring? Waste their time, slow them down. Yeah. You know, Suzanne could have been taken off that mountain any particular way. It didn't have to be heading down into Colorado, into Denver. You can go out through Monarch Pass, and then you can swing around left down toward the dunes. You can go down left where Highway 24 is, or you can keep going into the interior, then go north and around down to Denver. Something just, you know, and I know I say, psychics, go away. But, you know, I had some very funny, let's just say moments, very random things. And I just thought Kaufman Pass to me just stands out. I can't tell you why. He would go through Kaufman Pass probably usually or often. And then you'd take the highway or County Road 73 down off to his nephews. I don't know, just something about Kaufman. I just have a funny feeling about it. But anyway, it's all very, very strange. I want to know, I guess it's hard to get cadaver dogs quickly on site, you know, within a few days maybe. But we would expect that cadaver dogs would have been through there by now, wouldn't we? At any site, to any vehicle. To the site that, anywhere that Barry says he was in Denver. Anywhere around the home, anywhere around the trails. Although, I mean, obviously cadaver might be better with a a blood dog or a scent dog was something specific to Suzanne, because there'd be a lot of opportunity for things out there to give off scent that might not be related to Suzanne, I guess. But you know, and to the site in Salida, and out to the Longhorn Ranch, which another thing that I've talked about, Longhorn Ranch. This is the lot that is, I think I bought one of the slightly smaller lots, possibly 2.05 hectares, which still gives you just a nice homesteady size, manageable place where you can do some really nice gardens and have a lovely home with a bit of space around you. This is the land that has been bought apparently for Barry Morphew's mum. You know, you'd be checking there obviously, and actually on that whole development, because Barry would have known you don't just do that in a hurry. He would have already checked that site. He would know, he's probably wanted to do the contracting for that site, to do the landscaping. That is a lucrative role, lucrative place of work for people of Barry's people in Barry's industry. They'd be all vying for those contracts, and I really think that's something to look into. But yeah, I mean, it just gives you just a chilling feeling, doesn't it, that, you know, you're kind of hoping that Suzanne has just gone of her own volition, but you just know, you know, 26 seconds of complete bullcrap, and then, you know, something that I've harped on about to anyone and everyone that'll listen is the "let me tell you what happened" announcement of Barry, who then proceeds to run you through the scenario of the bicycle, the mountain lion, and the fact that law enforcement screwed up the scene, screwed up the bike. I mean, you know, we all noticed that, didn't we? The spinning the narrative and dissing law enforcement. But of course, you know, you're always wanting to go, okay, well, let's not jump in too soon. But I like to say I'm not often wrong if I give something a crack. And, you know, I think as time goes on, this is just more and more devastating for Suzanne's family, because, you know, it's possible, it's very possible that they are realizing that they have not known something very intimate and very important to Suzanne. It might become apparent that the woman that they thought they knew hadn't been able to be as close to them as they thought. It might be that someone in that family does know what Suzanne was suffering. There could be a lot of guilt and shame being suffered by people because they would have no idea where it might lead. We don't know what family members have witnessed over the years. We don't know if anything has just come out of the blue because of stressor with illness and things like that. Middle-age malaise, middle-age blues, you know. We don't know, you know, if rage in an accident has anything to do with it, if anything is premeditated. To me, I mean, there was time to think things through, and I think Barry is, you know, allegedly, I mean, he would be very capable of planning steps. You know, you have to have your project management hat on when you're running a landscape business, and you're ticking a lot of boxes and you're planning ahead, and you've got to think about lots of different things and take into consideration hundreds of things for every little job. But, you know, if it was a spur of the moment accident, it's not like there's been a lot of time, but there's been a little bit of time. There's been a little bit of time. Let's talk about the alarm system. I think it's never really worked. I'm not sure, but I think it's never really worked. And why would you not want to get it fixed? Maybe, you know, there has been ongoing issues in the family that people just would not like record of. So who knows? But it's not looking good. You know, with this 20-second plea, there was repeats of something that, you know, other people had already said. So it wasn't very original. It really, it was like something ticked off a list. And it was very, very queer. Okay. Oh, Suzanne, I mean, I don't know about that, but maybe in the family, oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me. Maybe maybe it's just something, you know. We don't know. We all have these things that we, you know, names and pet names and things. So I don't necessarily think that's anything, but I mean, was Barry in trouble, and did he think, you know, has he let something happen to Suzanne? Or, you know, and he's just chosen, you know, he hasn't done the right thing and something's happened, and now he's guilty in that regard. I mean, you know, if you've worked in construction and things, I mean, that kneecapping happens. I'm not kidding. I mean, you know, you can laugh at that, but there is a lot of, it's tough. It's nasty. It's not clean. These jobs, getting the work, keeping the work. Oh, there's a lot that goes on. And, you know, it just depends on your life experience, how you view things. And if you've worked in a lot of industries, if you've, you know, it does give you insight. I don't know. I mean, the two cars are interesting, but, you know, we can again assume that the feds have followed this up. I think I did hear somewhere that there was another white SUV that the family had, but apparently there was two vehicles. This is all very weird. I mean, is the neighbour dopey, or is she scared? You know, was she told just to look somewhere for the bike? I mean, she sounds like she's been either completely set up, or she's just, I don't know. But I don't know, was very naive maybe, or who knows. Yes, you know, we don't know. Did she see people there? I still don't think we've got the full story, even though Mike and Chris at Profiling Evil have spoken. We don't know the family member. I thought that it was going to become clear to me when I listened to the start of it that we knew which family member it was, but let's not forget that these men are seasoned and hardened investigators, and they would know how to ensure, like how to verify somebody. So they would verify them and make sure that they are talking to someone that is actually directly involved with the father, with the daughters. They didn't say it was the nephew. It could very well be that the nephew is someone that's, I mean, you know, helping Barry. Who knows if it's anything to do with Barry or not. But in my mind, I'd sort of thought there's no way it's an abduct, or she's got to have disappeared. Suzanne's got to have disappeared, or, you know, someone very close. I think the item found is probably the blue helmet that Barry wrote about, because we all know the pathetic handwritten note that meant that Tyson Draper, Balls of Steel, he was able to make a direct, in his mind, he saw those sandwich packages, the food packages out there in the woods. Before he released his video of the interview, he released the videos and then was in his comment section saying, should I release this interview? But the sandwiches he'd filmed and said, look, this handwriting looks like Barry's. And Oh, I said I wasn't going to swear out of respect for, because I've mentioned Chris and Mike, and because Suzanne, I wasn't going to cuss, but I was going to go, me, this handwriting, damn right. It did look like Barry's handwriting. Yeah, so that's just what I wanted to bring up, was I wanted to talk about these work sites, what's involved, so that it is very easy to follow up when was arranged and when, and what Barry has moved, what sort of mountains, if anything, Barry has moved to be doing whatever on these sites. And it can all be verified. If he's down in Denver, well, was he there just to spray paint the ground with where people were to dig? Well, who were the labourers that were hired to do that? I'm sure they've been followed up. When were they called? When were they booked? When were they cancelled? I wouldn't be thinking about ringing my labourers maybe if I was driving back to Denver because my wife's missing and the bike's been found, and I get back there at 9 o'clock at night. Barry arrived at 9. He didn't leave until 7, that would mean 6:30, 6:30, 7 o'clock. However, I would have been driving like a bat out of hell back. When did he cancel the contractors? Did he redirect them up to the site in Salida, sorry. Did they drive up from Denver? Were there workers? Did he do this whole foundation himself? Is that why such a little bit was dug up? Because that was a little bit that Barry did on his own. I mean, it's not usually a one-person job, not like that. Yeah, so these are the questions I have. Look, this has gone on for a long time. It's 26 minutes. This is going to take a long time to upload. Talk to me. I love your comments. This is, as I've said before, the Humanimal channel is here to be an interactive channel where I just want to talk about things that I think about cases, if I'm talking about true crime. And and I want to hear your views. So thank you for listening. And let's keep trying to, anybody who is in Colorado who has the means and the ability to do any sort of work, do it. Anyone who has contacts that can find out about where equipment was, where materials were bought, who the suppliers are, everything like that. I think the community would be really curious to know, how has Barry finagled all of the work logistics to do what he has done, or to not do it, or to cancel it, or to change it. Do you see where I'm coming from? Okay, well, 28:12, I will speak to you later. Thanks for listening.